Shalom, your brother, servant, and friend, Roy Ephraim Hyman, here bringing you the introduction to the series of studies named Shabbat by Roy Carlos Reyes International Ministries, Restoring the House of Israel. In this series of studies, we will delve into and see about one of the commandments of the Torah, the fourth of the 10 words commandments, one of the most attacked and most degraded commandments of all. In this study, we will see the spiritual and physical richness of Shabbat, and if we really have to keep the Shabbat, today's believers in Messiah. So the Shabbat introduction. Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 through 11. It reads, "Remember the Shabbat, the Sabbath, to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath day for Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, your Elohim. Do not do any work in him. Thou nor your son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Adonai made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore your pay, bless the Sabbath and sanctify it. The first mention of Sabbath, Hebrew is Shabbat, is in Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 2, verse 2, which reads, And Elohim finished the seventh day the work which he had done, and rested on the seventh day from all the work which he made. The Creator rested on the seventh day after he had created everything. Does this mean that he was tired? We know that this is not the case, since the Eternal does not get tired. In Isaiah chapter 40, verse 26 through 31, it reads, Lift up your eyes and see who created these stars, the one who brings forth his army in order, and calls them all by name. Because of the greatness of his strength and the strength of his power, not one is missing. Verse 27, Why do you say Jacob and say Israel, my way is hidden from Adonai, and my judgment is unheard of my Elohim. 28. Do you not know? Haven't you heard it? The eternal Elohim, Adonai, the creator of the ends of the earth, does not grow weary or weary. Their understanding is inscrutable. 29. He gives strength to the weary, and to the one who has no strength, he increases strength. Verse 30. Even the young men grow weary, and the young stumble and waver. But those who hope in Adonai will renew their strength. They will soar with wings like eagles. They will run and not be weary. They will walk and not be weary and not faint. Elohim did not rest because he was tired, but because the work he set out to do was already complete. There was nothing more to add. Everything was perfect just as it has been. Elohim complete. Work goes beyond what we imagine. Elohim not only finished creating the past, but also the future. How do you know this? Because Elohim begins, he finishes. He may have a hard time understanding this. We might have a hard time understanding this because we are limited by time, but Elohim is not. He transcends time, and everything he does is eternal. For him, the future is already made. It is no coincidence that in the Bible there is a great parallel between Genesis and Revelation. Where we started, that's where we ended. From the beginning, Elohim not only created what was at that time, but also what will be. So when he finished his work, he rested. There was nothing else to do. Everything was done from the beginning. Elohim designed the end times and everything that happened in between. Elohim has not disengaged from the world. He is in control of everything. What a peace of mind it should bring us to know that Elohim did his perfect work and that he will finish it. What better rest can we have knowing that Elohim is in control? In Psalms 138, verse 8 says, And Adonai will fulfill his purpose in me. Eternal, O Adonai, is your mercy. Do not forsake the works of your hands. In Philippians chapter 1, verse 6 says, Being convinced of precisely this, that he who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Mashiach. He sanctified it. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, and Elohim blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all the work which he had done in creation. From that first week of creation, Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. It is a blessed day, the most special of the week. In Hebrew, this is the only day that has a name, Shabbat. The other days are known by their number. Day 1, Sunday, day 2, Monday, etc. Elohim also sanctified the Sabbath, that is, set it aside for special use. Why do we set aside the seventh day? It is a day that Elohim chose to connect with his children. It's an appointment he made with us. It is an open day that connects earth to heaven. Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1. Who would not want to attend such a privileged invitation? After doing our work all week, we must stop and remember that Elohim is in control of everything. Even if things don't seem to be going as perfectly as we would like, we must have patience and faith in Elohim, for he has already finished the work. What he began to do in the beginning, he will finish. What a revolt to know this. Another time the Bible mentions that Elohim finished his work was when Yahshua HaMashiach said in John chapter 19, verse 30, consummate is. On that stake, he finished his work of redemption. In 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 18 through 20, knowing that you were not redeemed from your vain way of life, inherited from your fathers, with perishable things such as gold or silver, but with precious blood, as a lamb without blemish and without blemish, the blood of Mashiach. For he was prepared before the foundation of the world, but he has revealed himself in these last times for your sake. On Shabbat, we rest because Elohim is in control. Let us stop from our work and recognize who does the work. Let's thank him. Let us rest knowing that Elohim is in control of everything, for he finished the work from the beginning to the end. The Shabbat instituted. The second mention of the Shabbat in the Bible is found in Exodus chapter 16, verse 23 to 26. In the context of Elohim's provision of food to the Israelites as they crossed the wilderness on their way to the promised land. Exodus chapter 34:21 says, 6 days you shall work, but on the seventh day you shall rest. Even in the time of plowing and reaping, thou shalt rest. When they ran out of the food they had taken from Egypt, the Israelites began to protest. Instead of crying out to Elohim, they began to murmur against Moses, remembering the food they enjoyed in Egypt. How could the Israelites so quickly forget the crippling slavery whose price was the food they longed for? Elohim had not forgotten his people. He knew they had to eat, but put it to the test. Elohim was waiting for his people to seek him. The Israelites needed to learn to seek Elohim as their provider rather than Egypt. In Exodus chapter 16, verse 4 and 5, then Adonai said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go forth and gather daily the portion of each day, to test them whether they walk in my law or not. Elohim's message to his people is that he will send them provision from heaven. However, he wasn't going to send much for them to fill sacks or barns and be quiet. He was simply going to give them the daily bread, as much as a person could eat and be satisfied. In Exodus chapter 16, verse 14 through 18, it reads, When the layer of dew evaporated, because on the surface of the wilderness there was a thin thing like flakes, small like frost on the earth. When the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, "What is this?" Because they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, "It is the bread that Adonai gives you to eat. This is what Adonai has commanded. Let each man gather from him what he will eat. You shall take one gomer for a head, according to the number of people that each one of you has in his tent." And so did the children of Israel, and some gathered much, and some gathered little. When they measured him with the rubber band, the one who had gathered much did not have enough, nor did the one who had gathered little lack. Each one had gathered what he was going to eat. The food that the Israelites gathered in the wilderness was called manna. What is this? The bread from heaven appeared on the ground every morning, and the Israelites gathered it, prepared it, and ate it. This was their sustenance during all the years they were in the wilderness until they entered the promised land. Joshua chapter 5, verse 11 through 12. Each day the Israelites had enough to eat, but only for that day. Moses instructed them to gather only the food they would eat that day, but some wanted more and save it for the next day. They still did not trust in Elohim, but in their own cunning, but it didn't work for them. Exodus chapter 16, verse 19 and 21 says, "And Moses said to them, let no one leave anything until the next morning." But they did not obey Moses, and some left some of the manna for the next morning, but it bred worms and rotted. And Moses was angry with them. They gathered him every morning, each one what he was going to eat. But when the sun got hot, it melted. Why did Elohim limit food to just one day, instead of sending enough food for a week or a month or a year? He did this so that his people would learn to trust him. This was what Elohim taught the Israelites in the wilderness. And the same is true for us today. In the world, we are taught to accumulate and then to rest by relying on our savings and financial insurance. Elohim wants us to rest in him, not reserve. May the Eternal help you to always understand this. Saving in itself is not bad. The Bible teaches us to save and harvest, time for when the winter days come. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 through 8. The important thing is that we do not forget that our security and trust should not be placed in saving, but in Elohim. Every day the manna appeared, except the Sabbath, Hebrews Shabbat. Does this mean that there should be no food for the Sabbath? No. Rather, Elohim provided a double portion on Friday to cover the Sabbath, being that the Sabbath starts from sundown Friday to Saturday sundown. In Exodus chapter 16, verse 5, it reads, "And it shall come to pass that on the sixth day, when they prepared what they bring, the portion shall be doubled what they gathered daily." Exodus chapter 16, verse 22 through 26. "And it came to pass on the sixth day that they gathered a double portion of food, 2 omers for each. And when all the leaders of the congregations came and told Moses, he said to them, This is what Adonai has said. Tomorrow is the Sabbath, and a Sabbath day consecrated to Adonai. Boil what you are to boil, and what and save whatever is left over for tomorrow. And they kept it until morning, as Moses had commanded, and it rotted, and there was no worm in it. And Moses said, eat it this day, for this is today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath day, there shall be nothing. On the Sabbath day, a miracle occurred. The provision that was ruined, if left unused, was kept well on that day and could be saved. We may not eat manna today, but we are still dependent on Elohim. If we dedicate the day to Him, won't He keep our provisions? Do we trust that Elohim will provide and that He will give us a double portion to cover the time we rest in Him? Have we already learned to rest in Elohim? Rest in the divine provision. How does the provision of daily bread relate to the Sabbath? The Sabbath is a day when we must stop in this race for goods and wealth. Every day we must do our job, and well done. But one day we rest, recognizing that our provision comes from Elohim. Even though we work, He is the one who blesses us. Shabbat is the day when we are tested to see if we truly trust in Elohim or if we believe that our hands have accomplished everything. In Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 16 through 18, it reads, in the wilderness he fed you with manna that your fathers had not known, to humble you and test you, and to finally do you good, lest you say in your heart, my power and my strength and my hand have brought me this riches. But remember Adonai, your Elohim, for it is He who gives you power to get riches, that He may establish His covenant, which He swore to your fathers, as it is this day. Rest is not about having enough cushion for unexpected expenses. Rather, we find rest in Elohim, who is in control of everything and who watches over His children. We are to do our part and work the 6 days, doing things as Elohim commands. But we rest, acknowledging that Elohim is in control, and He will provide if we have any need. Shabbat is the day we set apart to connect with Elohim. By trusting in Elohim, we can leave behind the desires to get bread for our table, and we feed on spiritual bread. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2 and 3. And you shall remember all the way that Adonai your Elohim has brought you through the wilderness these 40 years to humble you, testing you, that you may know what was in your heart, whether you would keep His commandment or not. And He humbled you and left you hungry and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor your fathers had known, that you might understand that man does not live by bread alone, but lives by all that proceeds from the mouth of Adonai. The scriptures, the Sabbath in scripture. Finally, in the part we quoted, some of the hundred of mentions in scriptures concerning the Sabbath. The Creator commands rest on Shabbat. Exodus chapter 20, verse 10 and 11. It reads, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath day for Elohim, your Adonai. Thou shalt not do any work in it, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy livestock, nor the stranger that is with you. For in 6 days the Creator made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Creator blessed the Sabbath and sanctified it. It is the fourth commandment proclaimed with his own voice and written with his own fingers. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 12 and 13. Then Elohim spoke to you from the midst of the fire. You heard his voice, only the voice, but you saw no figure. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to do. That is the Ten Commandments. And he wrote them on two tables of stone. Exodus 31:18. And when he had finished speaking to Moses about Mount Sinai, he gave him the two tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written by the finger of Elohim. Shabbat is an external, eternal covenant and a sign between the eternal and the children of Israel. Exodus 31:16 and 17. Therefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath day, keeping it throughout all their generation as an everlasting covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Elohim made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he ceased to work and rested. Shabbat is one of the feasts of the Creator. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 2 and 3. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, the appointed feasts of Elohim, which you are to proclaim as holy convocation, are these. 6 days shall be worked, but the seventh day shall be a day of complete rest, a holy convocation in which you shall do no work. In it is Shabbat day for Elohim wherever you dwell. The Eternal blessed everyone who keeps the Sabbath. Isaiah chapter 56, verse 2. How blessed is the man who does this, and the Son of Man who holds fast to it, who keeps the Sabbath day without profaning it, and keeps his hands from doing any evil. The Eternal wants us to call Shabbat a delight, holy day of the Eternal, glorious day. Isaiah 58, verse 13 and 14 says, if for the Sabbath day's sake you turn away your foot from doing what you please on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy day of Elohim, honorable, and honor it, not following your ways, nor seeking your pleasure, nor talking about your own affairs, then you will delight in Elohim, and I will make you ride on the heights of the earth, and feed you with the inheritance of your father Jacob. For the month of Elohim, for the mouth of Elohim has spoken. Shabbat was created for man. Mark chapter 2, verse 27. And he said to them, Shabbat was made for man and not man for Shabbat. Yahshua HaMashiach is Adonai of the Sabbath. Matthew chapter 12, verse 8 says, for the Son of Man is Adonai of Sabbath, of the Sabbath. The prophet of the Tanakh, Old Testament, kept the Sabbath. Yahshua himself kept the Sabbath. In Luke chapter 4, verse 16, he says, he came to Nazareth where he had been brought up, and according to his custom, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and got up to read. The woman rested on Shabbat after Yahshua's death. In Luke 23, verse 56, which reads, and when they returned, they prepared spices and perfumes, and on the Sabbath day they rested according to the commandment. Meetings were held on Shabbat. Acts chapter 13, verse 1. They went beyond Perga, and came to Antioch in Pisidia. And they entered the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down. Acts chapter 13, verse 42 and 44. When they went out of the synagogue of the Jews, the Gentiles begged them to speak to them on the next Sabbath day about these things. On the next Sabbath day, almost the whole city gathered together to hear the word of Elohim. Acts chapter 16, verse 13. And on the Sabbath day, we went out outside the gate by the river where prayer was wont to be performed. And we sat down and we spoke to the woman who had gathered. Acts 17, verse 2 and 3. And Paul, as has his custom, went to them, and for 3 Sabbath days he argued with them, declaring and expounding through the scriptures. Acts chapter 18, verse 4. And he argued in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded Jews and Greeks. In the Brit Hadashah, called the New Testament, we have no reference to Shabbat being abolished and or changed. Matthew chapter 17 through 19. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or one tittle of the law will be lost until it is all fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these commandments, even the least of these, and teach it unto others, shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever keepeth them and teach them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Shabbat is a shadow of things to come. Yahshua's millennial reign. Colossians chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. It reads, therefore let no one be your judge concerning food or drink, or concerning the feast days, or the new moons, or the Sabbath, things that are only a shadow of what is to come. When the Eternal makes new heavens and new earth, Shabbat will continue to be kept by all mankind. In Isaiah chapter 66, verse 22 and 23. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make will remain before me, declares Yod He Vav He, so will your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from the new moon to the new moon, and from the Sabbath day to the Sabbath, every mortal shall come to bow down before me, says Adonai. Hallelujah. This concludes the introduction to the studies of Shabbat. I pray you loved it. I pray you um, understand it. I pray that you see the light and the commandments being brought to life. Thank you for joining, and may all be blessed. Shalom Aleichem.